Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another good episode of The Lifting with our friends Allison and Jason from Australia. Today, we are touching on the topic of manifestation. This is the second take for this episode because the last version of this got taken up in smoke on my last computer. So this is take two of this particular episode. What we're going to try to get into today is not only the things inhibiting certain manifestations, but what can generate manifestations as well. Good manifestations, not bad ones like conjurings, folks. That's not what I'm getting at. This is more like manifesting like abundance or getting rid of forces in your life that block abundance, or some kind of manifesting of, say, a situation or a property, money, any of those types of things. This is what's been happening essentially in our lives as well, where we've been coming across different blockages and different beings, different entities, different situations, different energies, different areas that have blocked certain manifestations, and how to generate and co-create past those blockages. So this is what I wanted to get at today. I know one of the things that the people that are here with me today wanted to touch on a little bit, and this will also be on a future show we're going to do about the power of writing and the written word as well, where we were going to call that the pen is mightier than the sword, essentially co-creating with written word, is where you can generate not only a story and a situation where you can write it out, even for healing, even for abundance, for money, any of those things, where you can write out a story or situation, whereas you're turning that into a reality. You're becoming that positive narrative that you are generating or you're trying to create. You become that particular narrative. And this is something where a friend of mine actually healed her fiance by doing this, by basically writing his character in a story where he was no longer sick or no longer had anything wrong with him. And he actually healed from that point. Some of his old scars healed, all of that, and used that magic on him. And another form is also using physical objects like orgone pieces to generate different codes, different positive spells. And also, oh man, I'm already been blocked even saying these things. I'm even feeling this even now. But also keeping your environment clear and keeping it and really becoming who you truly are. That's also knowing who you truly are. That is a way of doing this. See, I'm even starting to get scrambled a little bit even talking about this. So talking about ill manifestations. What I do is not only I wrote out exactly how we even got this rental house that we're staying in. I wrote it on a list, exactly what I wanted to see, what I wanted to have available to me. And the only reason some things that went wrong were two reasons. Not only was it ill targeting by overage external forces attempting to kill the manifestation, but at the same time, there were some past life junk that I had to work out with some neighbors. And so therefore it screwed that up a little bit, but it still worked its way out. Another thing, or another set of things that were going on, and you both actually suggested this to me. I had an old clock in my position that was actually held a spell within it that locked me into my old SSP timeline, because it was frozen at the exact moment that I was abducted and taken into the 20 and back. So when I destroyed that clock, when I burned it in a purifying fire, it unlocked that timeline and opened up a little bit more abundance for myself and for everything else that was going on. Things started to open up. Other things started to fall away that didn't belong. That's also a concept I call the splitting of the densities, where people and situations fall away from you that were not for your highest good to actually begin with. And that's been happening for years, but it's speeding up the more we go through here now. And it's actually assisted in being able to not only get better downloads to make better creations, but also more creativity is starting to come through at the same time, as well as creativity itself. As I go back to the writing and going back to creating orgone pieces, all this other stuff, being in the moment within that moment of non-time, as Viking and I would call it, whereas you're becoming that creation, or becoming that passion, or that manifestation, and you lose all sense of that time, and it begins to add that little fires of that energy all over the place. that's what I've experienced. You can take it from here, Joanna, if you want to say anything to that.
Well, there's a lot to say about doing manifestations. The concept is simply what we've always said is, deny the known and manifest differently. It's one of the terms, the little sayings that we use all the time. And we're saying that because over time, humanity has learned how we are creator beings. We manifest our experiences all the time. But what's happened over time is what we've learned and become really good at is manifesting what we don't want, or manifesting what is good for someone else and not necessarily the experience that we're hoping to have in our lifetime.
Another entity trying to manifest something they want versus something.
Correct. Yeah. And this has happened over time like you wouldn't believe, as far as, a force that's there basically to keep you from doing this because they have another agenda that they wish to play out. And so they're using humanity's individual and collective co-creative skills to actually push their agenda, and, no one's not allowing you to create your own. So we're in a time where people are growing in their abilities and in their frequencies. So we actually are manifesting things at a quicker rate, as it's meant to be. As we grow, things happen at a faster rate because we are growing to learn to handle things at a faster rate. So now is the time to learn more about manifesting and more about all of these concepts, so that you can start to learn to catch yourself when you may be in the process of co-creating something that you really don't want because it's done in a few particular ways. But before we do that, I want to turn it over to Allison and Jason to add anything or to bring up any questions specifically that you would like to talk about today.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned about manifesting and being, let's say, guided in a way that's different to what people want to create. Because what I've noticed lately with myself is it's so easy to go down a path of negative thinking, of creating an event of, oh, what's going to happen now? I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to do that. Things that you don't want to create, where trying to create things that you do want to create seems so much harder these days as well. It's almost like the negative manifestation is easier for everyone because everyone's been so attuned to think poorly. Whereas creating on a higher vibration is so hard these days because we're not taught or trained or shown how to create from a higher vibration. So it's interesting that you bring that up. And also, people probably don't realize that they're actually being guided to manifest something that is not for their highest good as well. So I've noticed that lately with myself, with situations around me. It's like, oh, I've caught myself thinking, going, why have I gone down this path, which is actually a negative form of manifestation? I need to go down this path instead. But this path seems so much harder on a mental and a manifestation level too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I found that with us, family and friends, so to speak, are trying to write a script for us so they can, better get what they want, but they're always trying to put us in their own scripts. So we're always working towards creating our own script or own manifestation. And there's usually some family member or something trying to, put us in their script to help them out. So we're always working through that all the time. And we're always continuously trying to clear this house and land because the amount of stuff that accumulates from what's been going on here, it does make a big difference for manifestations. So, for example, the candles, we still can't sell them. So we have to keep on working on clearing what is going on so we can, move them on, sell them. So it's been really interesting when it comes to that. But manifestation itself actually should be really easy now.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing because when we say deny the known, manifest differently, it's amazing to what you have to deny, because it's going to challenge you on all of your belief systems, all of your current belief systems. So from the moment people come in and are born into this world, there is the beginning of, what some people say are the programs or the dogmas that are started from day one, basically to get you to do things potentially for somebody else and ignore yourself and your own needs. So it could be, you know, again, traditions within a culture, potentially how family members act. What is your known role in a family? You know, it could be gender-based. For example, I always bring up girls all the time because girls are taught that they have to get along with everyone, or a part of their job is to go into a situation to try and create peace, rather than every ounce of them is telling them to walk away from it. And then they go in and they now get involved into this creation that isn't good for them, that they should never involve themselves to begin with. But girls are supposed to be peacemakers, get along with everybody, do all of this. And so all this effort is put into maybe, again, a gender identity of what, you know, particular genders are supposed to do in a communal situation. Then again, it goes into, if you want to be a part of a certain business, how are you supposed to act? What are you supposed to do? So it's everything that needs to be reviewed, you know, along with, again, who am I? First of all, figuring that out. Who am I and what is my belief system and what is me, and not somebody sitting next to me that I'm picking up on, so that you can actually start the co-creative process that actually is going to benefit you and what you're here for. We've always said in Lifetimes that people, we call it, you know, we have called it the wash, rinse, and repeat. There is a cycle of existence where people come in and, you know, if they could have remembered their experience, they would have learned everything they needed to know the first time. Now they're doing it for the 20th lifetime. And they're not doing anything really for their soul self. Everything in their life is kind of wash, rinse, and repeat. They're seeing the same cycle. So something is pulling from a big file cabinet and reapplying it now. It's like I always tell people, how many times do you have to learn about pain and suffering or stagnation? You know, and it's essentially just this hamster wheel that's taking place. Yeah. So first you have to open yourself up to the possibility that there is, you know, an idea of manifesting, and potentially that you haven't been manifesting wisely. You have been doing it for someone else's good, and you're caught up in a cycle over, you know, many people here have lived hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of lifetimes, that you're caught up in basically a cycle that you need to learn to break out of. So that's one of the big issues, again, in Deny the Known. First of all, become aware of the possibility that this could be happening. That you could have been duped or could be in a really bad cycle. In a bad cycle. And deny the known about your guides. So whoever they are, any beings you're communicating with, any situations you're in, deny the known of whatever your situation you have to be in, whether it's religion or what have you. Yeah. And again, just open yourself up to wanting to know more. So it's not about, again, this exploration is the expansion so that you begin to know more and more and more. And so the experiences will come in to help you gain that knowledge. If you've capped yourself, as we've always said, in a certain truth or, you know, belief system, then what you tend to do is constantly create things to reinforce your current belief system. So you must open yourself up that there is more. And if you want to explore this area and learn how to be a better manifester, you have to look at in your lifetime, when have I ignored myself, when everything in me said I shouldn't have done something and I did it anyway, but I did it because I wanted to please mom, I wanted to please dad, I wanted to please the church, I wanted to please the political system, or, you know, the social structure that I've been a part of. And then you'll start to say, wait a minute, you know, why was I doing these things? And then the goal is, again, then how do you start to break out of that and learn the skills of doing something? Believe it or not, in all of this chaos that is going on, and we've recorded this here on the 23rd in the United States, on the 23rd of October in Australia, it's the 24th of October. And so what we're saying basically is that you must be willing to open yourself up to kind of explore in this area. And it will require you to rethink your whole life and your belief systems on what really would you have chosen versus what is someone else having me, choose. And we are creator beings. So, it's really, really huge. But right now, in all of this chaos, this is an enormous skill set that is being broke open for a lot of people. All of this craziness, all of this restrictions, all of this stuff going on in the chaos of it all, people are denying the known. People are re-looking at existence and re-looking at their lives. So although this is a hard time, and it really, really is, it is affording the opportunity for people, because we as a collective have reached a certain frequency vibration, to start shutting away those things that no longer serve us, so that we can now, as an individual and as a collective, co-create an experience that we would all like to have. So it is happening, whether or not you realize it or not. And it will continue to happen. The goal for a lot of people right now is to gain the awareness of that's what's going on. And then, we can get into in a minute, what are the things that can hold you back from it? We'll get into some specifics, and then things that we can do that help people propel forward in their co-creativeness. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you want to add, or you guys have something else you want to say?
Yeah. So what we've been working on since Alison is no longer doing a 3D job, we've had to really learn to be manifesting in the now, not projecting to the future, not trying to work out what we're going to do, how we're going to make money, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. It's like really being in the moment and just taking step by step, not like 100 steps. And we're finding that to be a different way of doing it, because we're both clairvoyant, all that sort of stuff. We're really good at going into the future, but we're being sort of guided to really to do everything in the now, manifest in the now.
Which is actually, it can be really challenging, because when I decided to leave my job, it was, normally I could see, okay, if I do this choice or this choice, what is the outcome? And I was being advised from, let's say, my inner verse, my inner knowing, going, you cannot know the outcome until you make the choice. So once I made the choice, then the next step appeared. And it's a really interesting way of manifesting, because you're so used to seeing the future of what could happen, everything getting laid out in front of you, where now it's manifesting what is the choice of each day to day. And then you've got to make the choice best for you, for the outcome that you want. But you can't, it's like, what the outcome is, but you've got to make the choices each day as it comes.
Mm-hmm. And you did say one thing that relates to current, present moment, as you said, living in the moment, but also looking at the future. You made one statement when we first began talking with confidence that you said. Do you remember what it was?
No.
Being knowing.
All-knowing self, inner knowing.
No, you said one statement that needs to be said with confidence. We're fine and we're going to be fine.
Yes.
So, you know what I mean? So with all of this and with all of the changes, they're really, even though I agree, you've got to live in the current, present moment, but there was an inner knowingness that you knew that if you made this choice, that you were going to be fine, which it basically is saying, because I have confidence in our co-creative skills, ability. Exactly. And you said that, you know what I mean? So again, fear happens to be the number one thing that will keep you from doing these things. And fear is applied and is being applied right now in a way to force a lot of people to feel like they have no other choice but to do a certain thing. And so, what you did within the first, 20 seconds of our conversation before we started recording was made a very clear statement without 1 ounce of hesitation or fear that you knew you were fine and you knew you were going to be fine. And And so you pushed out all of that other things that are trying to co-create again against you. And you even made a statement that you knew there were some, you can feel that there is some unhappiness, and you're not talking about your parents, unhappiness, unhappy energies, that you made that decision and that you moved with it. So again, because you have to have a confidence in a co-creative force of your own manifesting for what you want in order to take that kind of step that you did. But, and so you looked at current present moment, but one of the things that we say is you did take a moment to look at the future because you knew it was going to be fine. And so, right. Yeah. And so you did both, but while you're in it, again, you have to learn one of the keys of manifesting is you must be in your current present moment. You can't be elsewhere. Although being able to look ahead to see what are the qualities of that life, what does it look like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? Bringing in the senses, again, you don't know how to get from point A to point B,
taking it from there.
But we do say, look at it enough of what the co-creation is, which is what you're talking about with the manifestation letter. You were looking ahead. This is what I want now to come in. And again, what does it look like if you're just talking about changing the dynamics of your family? Well, if that means for some people, changing the dynamics of their family is I want to get away from them and I don't want anything more to do with them, then that could be perfectly what they need to do. Some could be, I want to change the dynamics that when we're together, things are better. Well, what does that mean? What does that look like? What does that look like at a family dinner? What are you talking about? Did you guys all get involved with making dinner? What were the smells? So you have to have enough of looking a little bit out there to say, with a little bit of detail to say, this is what I want, which is why people do put the lists on their refrigerator, their manifestation lists and things like that. And so you have to then detangle from something called fear.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean? If you are in fear, then you have just told the universe you want the experience of being in fear. And you are constantly going to find things to stay in the state of fear. You're actually not telling the universe you want that. You're telling the universe you want fear. So you have to be able to, the first thing is understand how fear, that concept of fear, will actually hold you back from those types of manifestations that you may be trying to create. And it is so used to keep you from manifesting, as well as other, what we would call, again, more, we describe things in the language we know, but honestly, I'm just putting it out there. This isn't technically how things work, but we're going to describe them in the words that we have. So we talk about lower vibrational types of emotions, fear being a huge one, anger being another one, envy being another one, jealousy being another one, anything, again, that puts you in those very kind of animalistic states, you know what I mean? Those kinds of things, when you're actually continually staying in that is your co-creation that you are currently involved in right now. And so you have to recognize yourself that you are doing that and make a decision that you no longer, that does not represent what you want or who you are, so you can stop your own behaviors at a current present moment level to at least get you in a place of neutrality to be able to co-create what you really, really want. Now, I'm not saying a moment in anger isn't appropriate. Many people in this world should be angry right now with the stagnation that has occurred to them, and frustrated, and having a moment of, boy, if I had an Uzi, I'd get rid of this many. It's okay. Having a moment of that. But many people are now getting stuck in that and it's constantly playing 24/7, you will not create every thought as a manifestation that you have. What you create is what you get stuck in. So if you are stuck in anger or stuck in fear, and that's what you're going up, that's now the co-creation process that you're in. You have to find a way. And I'll give an example. Everyone falls for this. There's not a human in this world that doesn't fall for this. So even for me, I genuinely like people. I genuinely care for people. But I found myself even at work being tired of them, being like, I don't, want to be around any of you people, I don't actually care, and these things are what's going on in my mind. It took me a while to really, really say, that's actually not who you are. Now and recognize that what I probably, again, the collective around me was feeling a lot of that you're picking up on those energies. But I now was in that collective. And so guess what I'm starting to be a part of to continue co-creation of.
Yeah.
So in order to break out of it, you have to recognize in yourself when you're like, whoa, this isn't really representative of who I am. Do I really feel that way? It's okay to have a moment of it. But when you really get stuck there, then you start co-creating more of it. And so you have to back out.
You start living. Yeah.
You do. Refine yourself. Refine who you are. You have to know who you are to know what isn't you. And then make the choice that, okay, this may be the sandbox that all you guys are in right now, and you guys are busy. I'm not playing in that sandbox. Now I might be beside you, but I still ain't playing in that sandbox. I'm going to create and be who I really, really am. Mm-hmm. And people don't recognize when that kind of stuff begins, but you must open yourself up that, again, it's not always them. That you must be able to see it within yourself when you're getting caught up in things so that you can, you guys can do whatever you want, but I'm going to stay right here and be who I am to co-create the experience that I want, even though all this chaos is going on over here.
It takes a lot of bravery and a lot of courage to do that, especially in this day and age, because everyone's caught up in their heads, they're caught up in fear. It takes a lot of courage to know who you are, because from birth, we've piled on other people's opinions, and we've, changed ourselves to fit in with either friends, family, work colleagues, a society, a collective, that it takes a lot of courage for someone to go, hold on, this doesn't feel right. For me,
you've had
anymore.
to do a lot of work on that.
Yeah, I've done a lot of work on letting go of things, letting go of people, and really understanding who I am as an individual. And then once I realized who I am as an individual, that's when I was able to have that moment in time and go, everything's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. Because I was in the moment, I understand who I am as an individual. And it takes a lot of bravery and a lot of courage to stand up and say, you know what? I just don't feel the same way you do anymore.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. When you hear me say on Interstellar Council, it's called the splitting of the densities, where your vibration or your essence, is more in the now than theirs is, and it's essentially where they're essentially falling away. Now, what takes place is sometimes you'll lose somebody that's unexpected. Completely unexpected. It's whatever was for your highest good in that particular moment in time. Like we've lost a series of what I thought were friends over the last couple of years. And then I realized as time went on, man, I'm actually glad that person was gone, after a while. And even recently, there were two people that one I'm questioning, and one, made it quite clear they would have nothing further to do with us. And it was like, made it very abundantly clear. And thought that we had been attacking them and everything. But it's the ill magic's going on right now too. But at the same time, you have these situations where possibly that person could have drawn something to you or had some entanglement to you that you weren't recognizing. And when you begin the real disentangling process, these people drop like flies. So it's, you think, that I thought that was beneficial. No, it's just like today, as a matter of fact, I actually got rid of a set of books that I had over on the bookshelf. And normally this would seem very mundane, but these particular ones held a vibration to them that held a point to my own past that was not of benefit in the here and now. The information from it was, the information from that past was, not the energies. And these were objects that I had received within that situation. It was an old school that I had gone to where some really bad SSP crap happened at. And it's just like, no, I wanted to find any objects that carried the vibrations of that time. I found a pile of books. It was my old school books. I'm like going, I don't actually need these. And and as soon as I realized that, I was on Interstellar Council on Friday, and I looked over this. I wasn't talking about this on there too, going, I was talking about some of the situations that took place there. And I'm looking, and I look over to my right, and I see these books on the shelf. I was like, I didn't see this before. Just like I didn't recognize that particular school building that we were in before, because it didn't register, because I was somewhere else apparently mentally, and it didn't register. But now that it did register, we knew that that vibration, that building wasn't for us, and also the books that were from within it wasn't necessarily for us, or also myself in particular. And when that finally registered, I'm going, okay, these have to go. And as of today, I got rid of them, and I noticed the energies changed. But at the same time, I noticed, anytime I get rid of something that doesn't serve, there's always something out there that's really pissed off at me. But it's like, and I recognize this. While I've been sitting here, I've been hearing clicking in my ear and stuff like that, going on from devices out there. Somebody was really angry with me for even thinking of redoing this show too. So it's like I could actually feel that coming from that direction somewhere. But anyhow, the point I'm getting to is some of that was also helping to conjure ill magics, and also at the same time, not only was it created those objects creating an anchor point where something could come in, thoughts of staying back there were also doing the same. I was enforcing the magic, and at the same time, there's also a concept that I call karma dumping, where someone else that knows magical techniques will mirror whatever they've done ill karmically onto someone else and get them to play out whatever ramifications would happen for them, but on someone else. And this is something that's been happening quite prolifically in the magical circles. It's more of a satanic type of ritual that takes place there, where they displace one timeline from somebody else and swap them out. And this has been going on quite a bit lately, and it's a form of ill entanglement. And usually, you'll if you've had something good going on beforehand, and all of a sudden it starts to plummet, one of two things can be happening: that whatever that was over here you weren't meant to have, or option B is someone has etherically stolen it from you and taken that timeline and grafted it onto their own energy. And it's like a copy paste sort of thing. And they do the same thing where they copy paste onto you. And I've run into that situation a number of times, and that can really mess up your manifestation to where you really have to be in the moment to shed that kind of ill manifestation, ill magics. And you have to really know exactly who you are, and also intuitively you got to know, hey, this situation doesn't feel right. This is I know in my bones this is not me, or not my situation that I'm living out, and or if I'm not in my lane, for instance. And even the weekend we went to the show we were at, we know we weren't in our lane when we were sitting there. We went to a basically a horror convention, to sell our stuff. We weren't in our lane there. It's like, no, we weren't even close to being in our lane. We were in
it's funny because
we were in a ditch beside our lane somewhere. But it was
but it was a learning experience.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting there and I'm going, you think there's a chance that because we make spiritual stuff to put out good energies, and some of these people could be carrying junk on them that really isn't good, that maybe our own stuff is having them not look at our table.
Right?
And I'm like, have you noticed how people literally will walk by as if the table doesn't exist, or you were catching the ones that would glance over real quick and like, you know.
They look like somebody,
And I'm like,
smacked them or something.
So it's like,
Yeah,
oh my
that's
God,
what it
we
is,
so don't belong here. But again, that was a learning experience for us that, oh my gosh, you know what I mean?
And it was aptly named too, FearCon, fear. So
Oh,
like,
wow.
You know what I mean? So sometimes you do get involved in things where you learn a lot from it. It's not our intention to go back, but we did learn a lot from this. It really was a necessary trip.
to be able to manifest differently.
To understand something better, to manifest differently. So again, you may have these tumbles or whatever, and you're not sure, but look at them for what their growth purpose was. And a lot of these things, if you're into this area where you want to, manifest, you may get examples of where ill manifesting is, or what's working against you, or how things aren't working back. So it expands your knowledge on things. But to go back to the example that you were just talking about, detangling from things that are holding you back. Usually holding you back is going to be an energetic string, as Chris was talking about, that is it keeping you attached to a certain way of thinking, or that string may be keeping you. So I'm going to give you two examples to help. He gave you one with the books. I'm going to give you two quick more, because one was, I need to get rid of it, and one was, no, I need to hold on to this. So the one that I got rid of, and this is what happened. So I'm going to say this because a lot of people are going to recognize this. You were given something as a gift, okay? And it could be that you were given something as a gift by someone that you really love. I had a gift that was given to me when I was 5 years old from my grandmother. It was a little doll, okay? But even at 5 years old, I apparently, again, we are who we are. I have this spiritual sense around us. And in my family, they aren't big huggers, kissers, anything like that. And at 5 years old, I knew that about my family, but I didn't want it to be that way. Okay. I didn't want it to be that way, but it was that way. So I had decided on my 5th birthday that the gifts that I received, I was going to open them up. I was going to be in great joy, and I was going to hug with so much meaning whomever gave it to me, because I wanted to try and change that dynamic, right? This is what happened. I opened it up. I made such a big deal, and I went and I held my grandmother like you wouldn't believe. She did not hug me back like I was expecting.
Oh, really?
She didn't. So I had an expectation of how I expected people to be. I did not get what I expected. And now what I had now imbued into the present was the thought form, this is how my family is. You're stuck with this. And I held on to that doll. I'm not saying she intended it. I just want guys to know how this worked. I've held on to that doll till I was over 40, but every time I looked at it, I remembered that. I reinforced the situation within my family, and I was so upset, and it still wasn't what I wanted, but I was still reinforcing it. It took me that realization to then finally burn it. Okay.
Wow.
And because I was like, this is my grandmother. She loved me. Yes, she does love you. You see what I mean? But it became an ill manifestation or a reinforcement of something I didn't want. I was too young to know how to really change things or to do anything different. I didn't know what to do. And it upset me now. It's a doll. I was torn. I loved it because she gave it to me, but I also then was caught up in this like shame, blame, guilt. And then I was caught up in the shame, blame, guilt, because how dare I want to get rid of something like that your grandmother gave you. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was not for my highest good. I had to let go of that. It was holding me back. And so I did it. Everyone has stuff like that around them. I'm sorry. Everyone has stuff like that around them. Why are you holding on to something when it's keeping you apart and keeping you still attached to something in the past that you need to let go of with love. Doesn't change how I feel about her. And I know she loves me too. It doesn't change any of that. But it now, the thread that holds me back and allowed me to even keep co-creating, that's the way it is, that was burned. That was let go of. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is another little thing. I, as a child, again, a small child, in the United States at least, if you were a small child around my age, you were playing with, making pottery in school. It's part of art class. Everybody's going to make a pottery something. So, one of the creations that I made, and in my mind, again, as a child, a lot of times you're making things for your Mother's Day gift or something, and you're imbuing all this love and trying to make it the most perfect thing. And for me, it was about this tall, and it was hollow on the inside, and I cut, so it's a jar. It's just like a tall little jar.
Yeah, we have it sitting in our room too.
Right. So,
You got it.
right. So for me, and I gave it to my mother with all the love. Now, I haven't had the easiest relationship with my mother. Most people, and by now that have watched us, may have heard me speak about that. And it is not about that. So there was a point in time where my mother decided she was going to get rid of some of these things that the kids had made or whatever. She had way too many of them, whatever her reasons were. I took that and I had it packed away. I would never get rid of it, but I wasn't looking at it either. I couldn't. Wasn't too long ago that I opened it up and I thought of the past. And then I thought I was, hurt. My mother was going to get rid of it. But then what happened is I remembered that child who was loving so much, who now I look at, even though that was me, that I look at how much love she had and how she genuinely cared for things and for people and the beautiful child that was. And now I prominently have it sitting out because now when I look at it, it reminds me, because again, any of us who probably went through, let's say, Secret Space program or all the stuff, we've been beaten, right? Self-esteem, beaten down to the ground. I now look at that with reverence of how much that beautiful child loved, and I love her. Different story.
Yeah.
Different story, completely different story. Now I see things and have the power again of that child growing up with even more caring and love. It actually staring at that snapped me out of this little work thing that I was telling you about earlier, that I'm like, that's not me. Even having that to reflect, that's not you. So this is what I'm saying. You need to go through the things that are around you. Decluttering is the best thing because there will be things that will hold you back because every time you look at them or whatever, but there also may be things that you see now differently that will empower you even better. So it's good to go through the things that are around you because you want to surround yourself with those things that are positive that can propel you forward and everything, instead of pulling you backwards into a situation that didn't serve you probably then and certainly doesn't serve you now. So I just wanted to give a couple of examples of things for people to look around them and then think about.
Yeah.
So what if it's not on a physical level, that the thing that is holding you back is obviously you've gone through everything and you still can't seem to manifest and you're doing all the right things that you believe you're doing all the right things, and people have fallen off, the ones that that are not for your greatest good, are not around anymore. What if there is still something that is holding you back? And obviously it would be on an energetic level. What would people do then? Because there are things that have held or holding me back that are not on a physical level. And I've got to work through that on the other levels to try and figure out what is going on there.
So what is it? How did you determine? I guess what I'm going to ask you for is nothing specific, but still more generalities, because What is it that you're talking about? What is it that you feel is holding you back? A shame, blame, or guilt? I mean, what is it that's holding you that you feel?
Someone else's perception of what I should do for them,
Oh.
Do you
or
want to
how,
answer or do you want me
or
to?
how I should be for them. Pretty much how Jason was saying, how people try to script us into their reality.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much something like that.
Oh yeah, I've had that happen too, where some people perceive like me in a certain way, that I've had to act in a certain way or carry myself in a certain way, or based on maybe something I've said, they've misinterpreted, or they've had this idea in their head of what I'm supposed to be doing. And this is how it was, past me versus me now, where I may have been a certain way in the past, where I've grown a lot more since then. And some people think I've changed too much, like, oh, obviously something's wrong. He's changed too much. They think I'm like the one with the possession when they're like the one with the possession, sort of thing. And it's like, and so I've changed enough to where they don't recognize the person anymore. And it's not that the fingerprints changed, it's more me has come through. And they didn't recognize that. They thought maybe a passion had disappeared more. No, it was more of a reassertion of a passion. What it is they're literally taking that script mapping essentially and branding you with it. They're basically branding you and to have been a certain way. And I've said this in the past too, where I thought somebody was holding me back doing that as well, or a group of people. And I just reaffirmed, I just took and visualized any cords of those people being cut. And at that point, any of these etheric cords or thought forms that they're sending at me being cut. I also have external things like my devices and what I wear, like silver and all this other stuff around, to make sure that their codes are essentially deflected back at them. I basically put etheric dead man switches in there so that if they hit it, it reflects back at them, like a sorcerer's trap is essentially what that's called. And I do those things physically. I make physical manifestations of like a trap that'll throw it back out. That's how I do it. I make the spells for it to where it throws it back at them, or it disintegrates it altogether. And I also do that visualization, whereas it's that, like, I'm rubber, you're glue sort of thing.
That's kind of my thing, the simple thing.
Yeah.
I'm rubber, you're glue. What you throw back to me, I send back to you actually harder, 20-fold. Now that could even be love. They're sending to me love. You know what? I am self-secure. So in order not to have to do all this distinguishing, if you're sending love my way, I will send, it'll come back to you 20-fold, which is beautiful, right? So, but we did that show on the negative effects of good intentions. So you may actually have, let's say if it's a family member or whatever, that they have a vision, but what they're trying to script out are all of the characters within their own lives, and you now have a part in it. So what you have to really understand is that no one has a right to do that to one another, okay? But if someone is a really good, strong co-creator with people around them that aren't, they could put, this is your spot, this is what you do, this is your spot, this is what you do. They also can get people to take on what I call their knapsack, which means it's your scripts in there, but I'm also giving you problems that I don't want to deal with. And I said, you're never supposed to carry anyone else's knapsack. So what you have to understand is that you have to know yourself and what your life is. And then you have to also understand that you cannot control somebody else with your manifestations. This happens all the time when people come to Chris and they're like, oh, I'm not here for you to work on me and help me. I want you to fix my boyfriend, or I want you to do whatever, because they have a vision in their mind of what they want.
Because they think the person's broken, but in fact, they're in a different lane than theirs.
Right.
Yeah.
But so they have a vision, a co-creation, they're working, but they made a mistake when they decided you're to play that role. The goal is when you have these visions of these manifestations, you shouldn't be assigning role parts, because you don't have that right to do it. And then it usually turns into a mess anyway. But you basically are saying, this is the qualities of what I want out of my life and this, that, and the other. But there are plenty of people who want to control everyone around you. This is your role, your role, your role. The issue becomes, again, if you do not want that role, then you don't take on that mantle. You don't accept the knapsack. You don't do that. But you have to understand then that, what does that mean? Does that mean that this other person isn't going to try to stop doing it? May not. They may be trying to control everybody their whole life. What it means is that there'll be a rub, there'll be a problem, and a relationship maybe is going to break away. If you're constantly wanting a loving, caring spouse and you're dreaming about this loving, caring spouse, and the person that you're with is the opposite of that, but you're co-creating this other what you want, guess what's going to start to happen? You're going to do this. But if this is what you really want, you have to decide, well, it's not what he wants. He wants to be this way. And so most likely the relationship will break up as
you notice how she pointed at me.
You're the only one beside me. But anyway, so this is what actually happens when you're co-creating, okay? Now, so things like this can happen. You have to be okay with it. Because then you're faced with a choice. Well, if my only recourse is I have to be who this other person wants me to be because they won't stop, or, be who I want to be. A lot of people will say, I'm just going to be who they want me to be because it's easier. And they do it all the time. The question is for you. And once you realize it really is someone trying to put a knapsack on you, basically, of what they want and how they want, and you put this is the no knapsack zone, we're not doing any of that, then you also have to understand the consequences of the potential energy rubs and and you have to be okay with it. So this isn't, I've seen some of those, soulful journey things on Facebook where instead of, this beautiful forest and everything glitter and gold, it's like the wet cat hanging on for their dear lives, right? Or your face down in the mud, because that's really more of the reality of this. As you go and you find your genuineness and your authenticity and your sovereignty, which is what we're really talking about right now, your sovereignty, a lot of what you have been involved in up to this point has been anything but about your sovereignty. And as you try to shed what no longer is working for you, other things potentially will change. Now, sometimes the persons around you will be okay to change too. It'll work.
Sometimes.
It'll work. And sometimes it won't. So again, you have to kind of adopt this no shame, blame, or guilt mentality to be okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And once you do that, then that string is fading away, what's holding you back. Because it's your own concerns and your own worries, but you're not responsible for their experience, nor do you know what maybe they're meant to have people walk away from them because they're over controlling, right? Maybe this is meant, because again, whatever you've come into experience, and again, as we've said 50,000 times, we've done it all. We've been a good guy in life. We've been a bad guy in life, right? We've been caring. We've done it all. So part of understanding that is getting the repercussions of who you are. And if you're a controlling jerk, I hope you got a lot of people walking away from you, because you need to understand what that means to be a controlling jerk. And people choosing not to be around you would be a part of that understanding. Again, I didn't use the word lesson, a part of the grander understanding of what it is, that this is a choice of a way to be, that you need the totality of the experience, you know what I mean, to really have a good understanding of it all. So, but people are really good about pushing, I say this is the fishing hook. They're really good at hooking people, and people aren't so good at taking it out and no more of this game. but you have to, if that's
Yeah.
your goal,
Yeah.
you have to learn to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it still comes again down to, being brave and understanding what you want and what you won't allow and who you truly are as well.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. And again, understand that there are some mythos out there about spiritual growth and what it really looks like. And, you just started and it'll be a piece of cake, things kinds of there, and it's all rosy. And those are mythos. Those are really the true mythos. Because when you start opening the doors of your life and you start really trying to re-clean that out, it ain't pretty. It hurts. You're going to remember things you didn't want to remember. But you have to in order to let go of that no longer serves you. And so, but when you get to that point, and again, there's not a human on this earth that has mastered manifestation skills. We're really in the baby steps of, first of all, understanding that we do, okay, as a co-creative type of being that we actually do. And then first step, again, like I said, know yourself, and then try to figure out how you're not manifesting well and pay attention, and then you have those kinds of opportunities to, manifest differently. Part of them is the confidence, like we said with you in the beginning, being able to move forward without the fear, being in current present moment, okay, that you are. And so it almost becomes, I am now walking the talk of who I am in every situation that I am. And thus, the manifestation that you would like to see. The funny thing about it is, do you really know what you want to manifest? Because there are a lot of people walking around on this earth, okay, that want to manifest better energies on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is really what they're all about. Does it mean they're all going to be rich? So you have to now change what your thoughts are about one word. What does abundance mean? What does it actually mean? Now, I'm not against people having a good living and having a nice roof over their head. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you associate one thing and one thing only with the proof that you're doing what you should be doing in your lane, it could be a problem. But that's what society has also done to people. They have put in people's mind, what does success mean? What does abundance mean? How does society look at that? And that's the only way of looking at it, right? And no one talks about energetics, the changes and the positive changes that are occurring with certain energetics. They give no credence to that whatsoever. They give no credence to people that are working in these areas and what they're doing. And so, again, you have to, understand that. Try hard not to always fall into what society has taught you what these words mean, so that you can, again, not have that as a barrier to then cause the shame, blame, guilt, I'm failing mentality.
Yeah.
Right. And that really happens. So then you really have to search your soul. If I'm not living in the castle with my own moat for my $10 million in the next 5 years, have I really failed? Do I really believe that? Do you see what I mean? Do I really believe that? Or do I not believe that? So we're constantly having to check ourselves on our own belief system of what we feel. Because I'm telling you what, I know exactly what you're saying, because here you are in Australia and you have some energetic stuff that you guys have created. We're no different in the United States. Neither one of us is making big bucks off of this, but we know it's the right thing to do. Right? We know it's the right thing to do. We know it's the energetic. But what is feeding into our head? You're a failure. Are you really? Are you really a failure in your own hearts and minds? Are things like that? Now, again, my whole thing, I told Chris, you build it, it'll be there for when people are ready for it. So I still say the same thing, again, with you. totally on the opposite side of the world, but again, we have to also then keep reminding ourselves of our own co-creation's worth, because there'll be a lot there trying to tear it down, especially if you define success on a 3-dimensional way. So you have to think about that as well, because that then could be holding you back from your manifestation.
I was getting that. What was that baseball movie? If you build it, they will come.
A Field of Dreams. That's
it.
Yeah. So it's not easy. There's nothing easy about this. I always, there's a few things that are easy. We always tell people basic protection skills, basic things, but we're not masters. We're learning this. And, one of the things that I can say for us in our lane, it's about the energetics, and it's about creating better energies. It's about creating things to create better energies. It's, there's a lot of that going on, but like we just learned where we went not too long ago, there are a lot of people not ready for that.
There's a lot. Not ready for that. Also, another thing I'm being reminded to say is, say if you've been targeted, for instance, you're say a targeted individual or something like that. I always tell people, adding that I'm targeted, I targeted, or anything like that to them puts an even bigger bullseye on them. It may be they may be wearing it as a form of pride, going, oh, I'm targeted, this is happening to me, because they want to build a group around it. They want to build a voice for it, so that they bring awareness to the situation. But at the same time, they're manifesting when they do that, because they're bringing about more targeting. So what you do is you put it into the past by saying, I have been targeted, was. You put it on the periphery where these beings can't target you, like, oh, I was targeted. This was the time frame I was targeted. Stuff like that. Always put it past tense. You never put it in your present, because that brings about more of it. And that's what these other people want you to do, so that you continue to make more hardship and more ill manifestations. Now, some people get mad when I say that, but it's because, oh, there's stuff going on right now. Yeah, I'm well aware stuff's going on right now. We've been hit with it, but it's but at the same time, you don't want to add an extra amplification to it and give them even more permission that they don't need to do it to you. So they don't need it. You don't want to give that to them. So you always put it in the past tense. Oh, I've been targeted. And you'll notice that actually will start to reduce more and more. I can't promise it goes completely away unless you actually co-create that more and more. But that's up to you. But don't always apply labels like that to yourself. Do not apply labels like I'm part of this group, I'm part of that group. People always apply that. We said that in our messages show as well. But whereas, people align with a particular label group, I'm this, I'm that, you don't want to do this, because you're a sovereign being. You manifest for you, don't manifest for someone else in that way by allowing yourself to entangle to a label. Or entangled to targeted or QAnon or this cause or that cause. Don't say I'm this. Yeah, you can fight for a cause, but don't attach your name to it. So that's something that was also needing to be brought up. There was a sense of urgency to link that in there too. But it was that's saying, oh yeah, say this. There's also another part to this that is actually kind of creepy. I guess it qualifies being around Halloween, but how can I put this? There is a situation where you can create a whole scripting in your head in the moment, like a negative being will attempt to create this entire scripting, since it can't always create it. Other humans can, but they're the ones writing the scripts for the targeting and all this other stuff. But it's because they have script writers. Sorry, something's interfering here with my eye. But anyway, they have script writers where they try to create people with their own scripted personalities in public. Of course they would make my eye do this anyway. What I'm trying to say is they'll try to play a certain scenario out in your head, even if it's mundane, even if it's a regular life scenario. They're trying to weave that narrative in, and they're trying to get you to create birth a particular energy or being. Man, they are really interfering with me. Okay, they're really trying to get me to not say this. Trying to manifest a particular being or a particular energy. And in my case, when I'm sorry about this, guys, they really, for whatever reason, they hit my right eye for whatever reason. When I'm trying to do this, what I'm trying to say is, in my past, they tried to play out this scenario in my head so that I would manifest this particular energy of a particular person or a particular scripted being that had not existed prior to me, thinking about it or playing the scenario out in my head. And it ended up giving this being life. And I didn't realize that's what was haunting our house here for a little bit, was this manifestation that I had allowed to become created. And as soon as I realized this now sentient energy was something of my creation, very much like an etheric Frankenstein, I was like, no, I dismantle you now. I basically said, no, I revoke the life I granted, stuff like that. I went through and traced it back and dismantled it. It's never been around since. But I didn't realize that's what this was. We've had ghost hauntings and all this other stuff, but I did not realize that this one specific one was my own creation. And I was like, okay, now that I realized that, I said, I'm sorry that I gave you life in this respect, but now I have to dismantle you. You're causing problems, And they did this experiment also on a paranormal show where they wrote a script of a bio of a person, and they wanted to see if they could catch ghost box EVPs of that being, and they managed to do it. But then they had to go back and dismantle that afterwards. They did dismantle this character creation. This also goes into movie and TV scripts that get cut off at the end. It creates ill manifestations as well. Whereas, say, if they cancel a TV show, they can't, or they don't complete a story in a movie or something like that. This is why you always hear me use the phrase story first, because the energetic co-creation out of that, if they cut this off because of money issues or what have you, or they just want to be vindictive and cut something off, they created this ill energy where it has this open-ended, like fire hose like effect, that something else can grab a hold of it and then complete this through somebody else's mental manifestations, create some creepy manifestation out of that, or conjuring out of that. It's easier for them to do that than to bring something in from another dimension. So it's like it's easier for them to do it that way, or some other frequency or something. So this is why I always say that at least when you create a story, you have to complete it and not have any open ends to it. Like I went back to a short story where I had stopped writing it and completed an ending to it. And to make sure it was beginning, middle, end. Always have the story intact. This is why I don't like when disruptions happen in like movie or TV creation in that way. That's the film part of me talking right there. But it's but the energetics side of me talking is that where it will end up creating an ill manifestation, or something else will allow with that open-ended like fire hose to create something that maybe you didn't intend at that point through somebody else. So you don't want that to take place, because I've encountered all ends of that. So I was like, no, I've seen something get birthed out of my own co-creations, both good and bad. I don't want this, so it's like, so I have to be able to do it correctly. And sometimes I didn't even realize I was doing it. I just went into this like scenario and I didn't realize somebody else was driving the car. So it was like, because it was so mundane. They started out, normally, sometimes they go either violent or sexual, but in this case, it was mundane. And they went the boring route, and they ended up doing it. So sometimes you'll have a weird scenario pop up into your head that seems like it would be mundane or regular in nature. But if it just keeps playing out in your head, somebody's trying to get behind the wheel of your vehicle. So it's like in that way too. And try to basically hijack what I call your mental body, that part of your energy where the brain is trying to create a scenario or a scripted scenario out. And that's something I was told had to be brought up too, because it's because I experienced that myself, and that was within the past month. I didn't know what was going on here. And even this being was talking to me and everything. It was just like, I was like, God, I'm going to have to kill this thing now. So it's like, I just created Frankenstein's monster and I got to kill this thing. So it's like, yeah.
Turn on the light.
Oh yeah, I'll flip on our light real quick and then we'll
It's
get to
it's getting dark in here.
It's getting very dark in here, so yeah, okay. So now I think we could, I see one of the Galactics doing this, so it's like, yeah, they're like, they did that like that, okay. You're the ones that wanted me to mention that, okay, come on, okay, let me see here. Yeah, I had this like strong, like energetic, like beam go like right through my right eye for some reason, it was like right here. So when I was trying to do something. Then I had bugs flying around me and everything. So, all right. Okay. Which one of you wants to talk? I know there's like at least a dozen of you here. So this time around. Yeah, it's not going to be Isaac this time. It's going to be, oh, you want me to mention? Oh, yes, Isaac, I will mention this first. Okay. This, what he mentioned on the last incarnation of this show was how of course, you would want me to remember the science behind this. Okay. Okay. What he mentioned last time, that complex explanation of the.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember the gist of it. So it's what he's saying is if you want to create like not only an anti-portal type environment on your property, like something where nobody can open up doorways and junk like that, but a bubble is taking like different orgone pieces that have been programmed to filter not only coding through either whatever you've added to them, different stones, different elements, but at the same time, you're aiming them inward into your property. Like if you have them, like if say skulls, for instance, like what he uses, to have them on the four corners where they can aim this central point inward to make it so that it reflects that your purest manifestations project outward. Did I get that right? Okay, I'm singing in my head, but he has the scientific notations and stuff in his head. But it's like he's pumping like decades worth of like scientific notes and everything in my head in like 2 seconds. So it's so what in just a form, what he's saying is putting these devices on the four corners and having it to where they aim a not only protection bubble inward and around, but at the same time, whatever you co-create then gets filtered back out and put back out there in a more amplified manner through devices. That's what he's trying to say. Okay. Of course, he'd want me to pump that out before somebody else talked. Okay. Because thankfully I remember that. Okay. So sometimes when things are in higher frequency, I don't remember crap, but that stuck out in my head. So if that recording gets saved, I'll end up putting that out there too. But okay, who was it that wants to talk before he interrupted? Okay. Okay, about 3 of you are raising your hand. It's got to be one of you. I can't do 3. Okay, let's see. Oh, they're just joking around. Okay, this is a group of beings that people have heard me mention on Interstellar Council a number of times. These are the Saranan people. They're our cousins from Cassiopeia, and they're one of the nicest groups I've run across so far. So, and they're usually pretty straightforward. They live here with us. They look exactly like us. It's just that their eyes are a little different. They look like they also age slower too. These women that are here are essentially in their 60s, but they look like they're in their 20s. So
wow.
So yeah, they age very slowly, like maybe a third or a fourth as slow as us. So so they could be like 100 and be like maybe 30 looking. So yeah. So yeah, this is that's about the same. Yes, I know. I'll shut up so you can come in. Okay. Okay, yeah. There's 2 that we deal with on a quite regular basis. One's named Elena, one's name is Vesa. And which one of you wants to speak this time? In our Patreon post we did prior to talking to you guys today, we brought Elena wanted to come through on the topic there. So Vesa, did you want to come through? Okay, yeah, she's kind of the bossier one. So that's the one telling me to shut up and do that. Okay, that's so. They tend to bury Isaac when it comes to certain things. So it's like when they moved in, he kind of stepped back a little bit. It's like he's like, nope, we're good. But it's like that. bug off the screen. Yeah. Okay. I find if bugs walk on my touch screen, they tend to screw around with it. So I have to blow them off the screen. So sorry, folks, I had to do that. Okay. All right. That's that. Yes, that is you. Yeah, because I can definitely feel the energy improving here. So a lot of fighting going on in the distant background. I can feel that somewhere. Yes, I won't pay attention to it. Thank you. All right. So I can see the entire thing. So, okay, that's it. Oh, yeah, that's right. It's usually when they come through, they don't like I'm wearing my hat. So, or one of my hats. So. Do the crystal, please, not my brain. Yes, greetings, one and all. Yes, this is Vesa once again to tell you, yes, this is a most apt topic, even though this is the, as you would say, the reincarnation of this particular show. The urgency behind this topic, the reason that this must come out in the fashion that you all have displayed it here today, is what is very, very needed right now, and the different examples that go with this, because there are so many people out there right now in a variety and varied of different situations that require a jumping off point to be able to see the conglomerated chunk of information brought to you to them by all of you here. This is why there was such an urgency behind it. It wasn't just us that were contributing to that true sense of urgency. There are false sense of urgencies too, but there are true senses of urgencies with this. False senses of urgencies will try to get you to manifest poorly. True senses of urgencies want a particular message out because it is beneficial for one and all, and even just for the self. Which also benefits everyone in the changing of the energetics, because you manifest differently your environment. But with that, in the changes of the self, but with that, the topics that were said here today are actually on point. So much so that my contribution is actually going to be much smaller, because you all have pulled it out of the ethers and brought it forth quite well. So I will just go into questions, if you don't mind.
I actually want to talk about, we're working with cryptocurrency at the moment, so I'm hoping that you can share some light on that. My question is there new? It's a changeover from the old money to the cryptocurrency, and that's going to be more beneficial for humanity, with abundance and manifesting more wealth, and through the new currency, which is called crypto. Can you share some light on that, please?
Oh, of course. This is actually quite an interesting topic, because it is actually the infancy form or rudimentary form of what a galactic currency is like, you see. This is why it is being switched over. But there are so many scams and pitfalls involved with cryptocurrency currently, because of the fact that there are so many trying to derail or defame it. It is basically at its starting point, you see. We're not instructing people to switch over, because there will be eventually a switch over. We cannot say any time frame or anything like that. We just know that it is gravitating towards this. With that said, the currency that exists out in the galaxy, not only in Galactic Federation territory, but in other areas, are basically chips like cryptocurrency that would represent different land holdings, different resources, different metals, different any sort of resources or trade value that you would have. This is what exists out in the galaxy. This is why you are seeing this slowly switch over to at least somewhat match what is taking place out there. And eventually it would match what was taking place out there. A slow drip method towards that. Just be leery of any scams or any ill manifestations with it, because of the fact that sometimes the computers are messed with quite often in this area, because there are pre-programmed individuals and AI personalities that are programmed to mess with this particular medium. So be leery of that. We are not trying to get you to manifest poorly, but just know that there are some of those pitfalls involved in that. But the benefits outweigh the pitfalls and the cons in this. Because this is what that rudimentary form of currency is going to become, is more galactic in nature. But in its rudimentary form right now, there are a lot of kinks to work out.
So in the manifesting part of this, of manifesting to bring a good cryptocurrency into existence, then I think the point of, tying it into the show is seeing the cryptocurrency being successful with the weeding out of the corruption, the weeding out, and that you see the system coming into play and the attempts to corrupt being shown, being weeded out, so that a cryptocurrency that truly is for everyone's highest good comes through all of that.
Yes.
So that's how the manifestation, you know what I mean? Be open to the fact that in all of our history, very good things at every single turn have been attempted to be corrupted. So, that seems to be, part of it. But the manifestation is seeing it work through the baby side of it and seeing that it will be successful, and it will. But with the caveat that you're saying that you must understand that this is the process that's going on. So be very careful with what you do with it at this current present moment, but spend your time co-creating all of the not for your highest good being seen so that it can be cleaned up and it will be successful down the road.
That's exactly what I was getting at, Joanna. This is why I basically said the flaws with it, so that people would know what to manifest out of it and turn it into the most purest form of more galactic cryptocurrency.
And so so this is part of it, I think, and not just in that one particular scenario, but in everything that we're dealing with, in our political systems, right? In our school systems, and in all of these different areas. Basically, again, this is hard right now, but there's now also the opportunity to see things for where they are so that you can co-create them into looking, instead of feeling like what they're hoping will happen is that you get so down and so whatever, you no longer co-create. You turn over your skills and say, you can take it as long as you can make me feel better. And that's what they're hoping will happen. But the goal is you don't turn over your will and your co-creative skills, and you get the truth of your foundation wasn't what you thought it was. This is how it really is. What do you want? And what do you want it to be? And do not give it up to somebody else to decide. And then what you'll see is more and more problems that we need to know about come bubbling to the surface, because they're going to have to come bubbling to the surface to be corrected, to put it in a direction that, society as a whole wants it to be. And it's hard. I mean, you guys are sitting there watching this, what does it look like to you from your perspective?
What it looks like from our perspective is not necessarily a society in its infancy, because you're far from being infants, mind you. Some others might call you children with a loaded gun. We do not see things that way. Other societies out there might. It just depends on which ones you speak to. In this instance, we are seeing you as we once were long ago. With that said, we know that your society will eventually manifest all that does not need to be within your society out of it, and weed all that is not needed out of it. People always think and also always say an act like the cabal, for instance, will constantly rule you forever and ever until the end of time. No, that's what they want you to think. They're trying to get you to manifest poorly and ill manifest. No, this is something that needs to change. Also, out in the galaxy, the treaties that are formed with the Galactic Federation and your own government, these are things that you can manifest differently by manifesting them out of existence or changing them to where they have loopholes, such as like when you meet a being such as myself, within those treaties, we are always required to walk away from you if you recognize us as alien instead of a more angelic form, which we would never hide ourselves in that way. In this instance, by constantly disrupting or bucking that system, you see, you are basically telling the rest of the universe, reflect that back at you, and basically saying that this system needs to be overhauled. This includes not only your own government, but the Galactic Federation itself. And then in time, that manifestation forms universally because you have started that fire down here on one of the most powerful power points in this side of the galaxy, essentially called the Nexus Point. It's more of an amplification or a megaphone for manifestations. So this is why you cannot see this world as a prison, but as an open world, open to trade and open to all positive possibilities and variations that you would want to see your planet have, but starting with yourself. Also, one thing you two forgot in this particular broadcast was your affirmation and blessing. So, in this is why this is important. We will add the energetic buffers in here, but in this, a beginning point and an end point, essentially, capping that particular manifestation within what the idea that you are attempting to formulate, you see. Blessing both ends of this cause this particular effect where that it will become more of a projected outward manifestation. Again, we've added the energetic buffers in here and have applied the blessing to both the beginning and the ends of this. If you wish to add more to this, this is a great thing, but this is why that is important. This is also why you forgot this, because at the same time, it needed to be stated in that particular manner. But at this point, do you have any other questions for me?
Yeah, just something quick and I guess on a simplified version for people to, I guess, everyday Joe and Jane Blow in our world, for them to manifest or understand that they can manifest, they need to understand that they need to, I guess, in a way, don't put themselves in a box or don't put themselves in a cage or stop restricting themselves, and understand that they can actually manifest, but they need to step out of the box of either society, friends, family, or something along those lines, and really take that brave step out of being in a box, you could say.
Yes, this is actually one of the more common problems. People feel trapped, you see. They feel trapped by their situation, their house, their environment, by other people around. Even people within his very own life have even felt like the house they were in was killing them in a manner of speaking. And yes, can hauntings and a haunted house or a manifested house, whereas the house itself has life, like in your Shining movie, sort of, yes, can that exist? Yes, to the point where those energies can actually be more obtrusive against you, and it would have more of a sentient life given to it. This is not that type of situation that we're mentioning now. I just had to give that as a different buffer or a different idea in there. But in people's own life, the idea is not to see yourself as trapped or imprisoned. Like I said, for the planet, do not always see it as a prison planet. That is actually one of the worst manifestations you can do. Do not see yourself as trapped, or have what he calls a trapped mentality, where you cannot see anything else but the situation that you are in. You are not co-creating a new situation. You are not bringing about what you need to bring about. You are not you are the embodiment of fear at that point. Do not become the embodiment of fear in your situations. Always see things as fine, like you two have, regardless of what hardships you are encountering there. And yes, they have been immense in that country of yours, most certainly. We have been observing this closely as well. But the object of this exercise is every Joe Blow, as you were mentioning, in their households, or Jane or Joe, or whoever has a family situation, relationship, or individual situations. Do not become a manifestation of fear. Do not generate that fear and become what they are trying to get you to become, more of a fear factory, or pumping that energy out. Because the more of that manifestation you put out, the more of those hardship situations you create. This may sound simplistic in its delivery, but this is actually the crux of the argument.
And it reminds me of one thing we didn't state that probably is a good thing to state here is the importance of the word no
Mhm.
and meaning no.
No.
So again, no, I will not be subjected to the box that people have put me
And do
into.
not allow others to put the box on you. Say no. Yes.
Right. And you need to mean it like you mean nothing else. I always joke though, because for me, sometimes I find myself in my head or sometimes out loud, I'll be seeing something on TV because it's a great media to try and co-create out of when somebody's saying this is how it's going to be, or this is what we think. And I find myself looking and going, no, right? That, no, it's not going down that way, right? No, I do not accept this as the new norm. No, I do not. Do you see what I mean? And again, we go back to at least, still historically for us, and again, I say young girls, it is hard to say no and mean it. And so this is the time you dust yourself off, and they're better. And again, a lot of times girls will speak and there's a question mark at the end. No, this is no. And this is with all of the strength that you have that you deny, you will not accept, you will not. So that's a part of it too, is not allowing the ill manifestations to take hold by you somehow passively wondering, could it be, will it be, or I guess it's going to be, right? And not to do that, to reject it, then to actually start pumping out the co-creation you want. So no is something everybody needs to learn to say, to reject some of the boxes that we've been put in or the ill manifestations that somebody else is trying to have us co-create.
Just like they try to trick you into always saying yes to what they want you to do because they like to tighten the noose. The answer to these situations is always over resounding no to what they want you to do. The answer is, and always has been, always will be, no.
Exactly.
Like if someone says, promise me something. No, sorry, I can't promise you anything.
Exactly. Yes, do not make promises that you more than likely won't be able to keep in that respect. Just like somebody wants that validation that you want to promise them something. No, you don't have any obligation to do that at all. You do not have any obligation to speak when somebody says speak, jump when somebody says jump either. Say no to control, and also say no to being the manifestation of fear.
One more question.
Yeah.
Okay. How can a person step out of fear when everything around them is so fearful and manifest from a place of love? So how do they step out of the fear from the mind and understand that they can actually manifest and co-create something better when they're surrounded by such negativity?
This is actually very interesting. The mind always works on facts and figures of what it can see and hear, you see, smell and taste. So what you do is you trick your own mind by writing out that manifestation, just like he writes out revocations and audits and words, you see. You write that out and you tell your mind that saying no to fear, you basically show the mind that it is a factual type situation by writing it out in the written word. By writing it out in the written word, your mind automatically sees that as a factual, even though saying affirmations to and mantras to that aspect, of that respect, is very, very good. Putting pen to paper in that respect, as well as taking those encumbrances surrounding the fear, writing those out and taking that piece of paper and burning it also helps as well. And basically writing out every manifestation that you ever wanted out of that situation that is anti-fear and more of a loving construct, you see, more of a loving picture and a peaceful picture, and more of a creative and passionate picture, writing all of that out and keeping the fear construct on the burned piece of paper, but also telling the mind, this part is factual, the other is not.
And then one thing that I think would help also for a moment is escapism from what you're doing in a sense. So it's simple things like deciding that you're going to take a fear break and I'm going to watch some funny cat videos, or I'm going to watch this beautiful dog.
Mental
do-
diversions, yes.
Yes. And so, the goal is to remember the frequency of what it feels like to not be in fear. Because if you're laughing at some funny cat videos, right, or whatever it is that brings you joy, or you're watching your child or your grandchild on a video you did, you're not going to be in fear in that moment. You're going to forget the fear. You're putting it aside. So you have to actually learn with those mental diversions, as you just said, to remember how to put yourself out of fear. And so you can move yourself, and then you can choose if something makes you fearful. I'm not listening to this anymore. I'm not seeing this. I don't want to be there. I don't want to be in that sandbox. I'm going to go ahead and now redivert myself back into the realm of all possibilities, which, believe it or not, the one beneficial thing that, it's not the one beneficial thing, I guess that comes across rude, that Isaac tries to remind us of is the beneficial side of laughter and that frequency of being in humor and whatever. So there has been such an effort to keep people from these frequencies that you have to remember how to get back into them, right, by these diversions and by these different things. So I also would recommend, if you have nature around you, please just simply allow yourself to take the time to watch the tree blow, or to watch the leaves, or just to notice that. For us in the United States, they're changing now. And today, for the first time, I'm like, what happened? Did it turn bright yellow just yesterday? No, I was probably obsessed with other things, and I didn't notice this huge tree is beginning to turn this beautiful shade of bright yellow because of the leaves changing. Allow yourself to reconnect with these other things. It will take you out of the fear and remind you of what these other frequencies are, which then allow for the possibility of a positive for your self-manifestation.
Yes, that is the crux of it. And for also mentioning is, for one, Isaac only has one useful thing to say. So we will make that clear now. That was the most intelligent thing he's ever said. So in this respect, also within creativity and with also walking in nature, that is highly recommended, what you just said. This is why I've been having you say it versus myself, because this is also a form of manifesting it. When you are here in the moment, you are stating it also for the people in this respect, as am I, but you more so because you're in this frequency construct. So also, like what I've said on other shows that have been recorded where I have spoken, the phrase that I came through with on that show with dear Mark also was the fires and hate and fear are the enemy of the fires of creativity and passion. So in that, when you are existing in that other, you are becoming that machine for your, what you call the 3D matrix. You do not want that. You become part of that constant machine that is building up to critical mass, even as we are speaking. When you are in more of that creative aspect, when you have become that, as he has also said on other shows, also being in nature, being around the trees and being around the turning leaves. Not noticing them is not necessarily a good thing, though, as you've said. You were caught up in other things and did not notice what was right in front of you. You did not see the forest for the trees in that respect. And yes, Isaac is not the only one that can make a joke. So this his just suck. So in this respect. So what I'm trying to say is this: notice the forest for the trees, notice the leaves changing, notice nature. Do not always get caught up and do not really get sucked into that daily grind or the fear surrounding that. You become the embodiment of fear and even hatred at times, where other beings wish to pump that out of you. Even now, there are certain interferences that are attempting to come through to not get that information recorded. So this is something where we must close the conduit now. We are not leaving you to the wolves, as it were. It is just because we, after a while, if we try to force the conduit, that it actually attracts certain bugs, let's just say, to the bug lamp. So in this respect, we can zap a few of them, but then we must close the conduit. So thank you all for listening to this. Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah, I was starting to see the faces of insectoids and stuff like that in my head. So it was like over time, sometimes their presence can be detrimental, so they back off. So they get the attention of other things they're trying to keep away. So with that said, that's actually very interesting. That's the second time in a couple of weeks where she's actually come through for us doing recordings. So her and her partner Elena. They're great people. That's his brother Vosk. He hasn't done any challenge yet. I don't think he cares to, but he's been around too. And also there's Mosin soldiers out there too. Okay. No wonder they chose to stop. There's soldiers walking around. Okay. They're a relative of the Serranans. They live in the same star system. They look like World War I, World War II soldiers. They've been mistaken as ghosts a lot of times. They're out here now as well, and also everybody's basically giving their blessing for this transmission. So I don't know if you two have anything to add, but this is a good place to cap it. So did you want to add anything?
No, I'm good.
No, I'm good. No, all good. Excellent.
All right, Joanna?
No, I'm good. I hope everyone has got a lot to think about, and think about yourself, find yourself, and then again start co-creating in a way that serves you and not someone else's agenda.
Yes, I couldn't have said it better. So thank you everybody for watching this episode of The Lifting. This was actually a very, very fun episode to do. So thank you everybody. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
See you later.
Hello. I want to point something out. This goes along the lines with the manifestation show that you've seen. It's good that I wait to edit these because other things come up. This is actually quite interesting. You heard me mention on Interstellar Council that we had somebody walk away from us again, which that is essentially the splitting of the densities. Well, this person ended up being yet another agent that was watching us. And this time, what happened was this person accused me of attacking them, being very angry with them, attacking them until he sent money to me, which he sent silver to me, which was completely untrue. And I will publicly say that right now. Untrue. What resulted in happening is I found out what truly took place. The forest people, at least the elders, not the young ones that are sketchy. I'll get into that in a different video. But the elders like Fuma, Simar, Elder Line and Nakam Line, like Sufas, Atalatic, Faradas, those type. What happened was they were the ones that were showing anger towards him until he sent that silver to me, which was a sizable amount. I'm not going to go into the number, which I was shocked, surprised, and a little taken aback, but at the same time accepted graciously, and I'll tell you why. Fuma came to me the other day as I was working on the garage. They help with the orgone pieces and advise how much not to have in the house, what to put in something. They help with the formulas sometimes. A lot, in fact. They're a great help. But what took place was I asked Fuma. I figured he was the person to ask this. I said, what do I do about the silver? Also worried about, not necessarily entanglements, because silver can't get any, or it wouldn't be a good protection metal. But the numbers and all this other stuff, the energetic exchange type of thing from somebody who was very malicious and nasty to us. He said, and I quote, accept it graciously and move on. Which that gave me, and then he asked me if I got it, what he was saying. What he did was it was them, the elder forest people, that got this person to send all of that silver as more of a, I want to say an energetic exchange, but what some of these elementals will do, and you've heard me talk about this on multiple occasions, where if you help them out in some way, they will pay you back by leaving money in your path. But yet, they have to take it from somebody they don't like. Sasquatches are no different. They're an elemental too. Essentially a gigantic fairy or gnome. So, well, like us, I suppose you could say we're the same, because we're related. Both elemental and galactic, alike. This pile of silver bars, which were about that thick, mind you, sent those to me, along with some salt, which I used the salt on the property because it was something that was needed here at the time. This would be it right here. Right here. That was needed at the time. And so it was exactly what was needed. So, for a specific problem. What they were doing was protecting us from this individual because of this agent status. But since they turned out not to like this person, they did this to the other people we were doing business with back in 2019, 2 sets of them, in fact. And this other person in Washington State, they basically destroyed his septic system and destroyed the toilet inside of this trailer that he had. And when we asked them why they did it, they said because the guy was full of shit. And they were trying to get us away from them. They were doing no different than with this other guy in New York State. What happened was they were making him so mad at me so he'd separate from me, knowing that I would not actually do something. They took that route just to separate him from me, then got him to send his silver supply to me, saying it was a gracious gift. Accept it, move on. Essentially, they were saying it was a gift. But they still had to take it from one place and give it to me. It goes from one place to another. It's not like they poofed it out of thin air. And this happens, like I said, with elementals. Why is this part of the manifestation? Is because we are striving to go become the proper manifestation, to bring in abundance, proper abundance. We have become that path. And they showed their appreciation for that by taking something from a potential threat of an enemy that would have, if this should all reset and go to silver and gold standard, would have had substantial amounts of money from that. Enough to keep going, doing whatever the laned mission that particular person was on. Lane meaning false lane, meaning government, not soul lane. Or unless that is the soul lane and that soul is just there to experience that. You can view it either way. It's usually the latter. But in this case, it got sent to us. And now we have it. And there are no entanglements or no debts to be repaid energetically or anything like that. And that goes also to energetic debts or energetic exchanges. You don't you can just accept a gift graciously. You don't always have to counterbalance it with something else or think you have to counterbalance it. Sometimes that's just a manifestation and you leave it at that. You've manifested that abundance. Yes, you can give it to somebody, of course, but you can also put it to good in your own life. You don't automatically have to give it to somebody. That's it's not a no-no, but you don't need to do that. People are always under the impression it's like, oh no, I can't be selfish, I can't keep it. Of course you can. Of course you can, especially if you need it. You don't have to always give it away. I knew of somebody that won the lottery, won a lot of money, and gave it all to charity, and then he's living in squalor. You were never meant to live in squalor, folks. You're never meant to live in squalor like that. Thinking that, oh, I'm not supposed to keep this, only greedy rich people keep this. No, good people can put it to good use. You don't have to give it all away just because the Bible told you to. Just like that tale of Jesus and the people who put a few coins in the well, and the woman who put only everything she had into the well. And Jesus then said she was getting it back in a different way. Yeah, that works. Yeah, abundance comes in many forms. Just like we give a lot of orgone pieces away and we get that abundance back in a different way. It's not necessarily as monetarily. But in this particular instance, Yeah, I don't buy into that tale with Jesus, by the way. I don't want people to think that I've gone biblical, but I'm just saying you don't always have to throw everything in. You can dice it up as you see fit and manifest it how you see fit, and you're still getting that even energetic balance. Either way, as long as you're doing good with it, even if you keep it, and you know you're going to need it at some point, your intuition tells you you're going to need it. Why give it away? But if your intuition is telling you that you're supposed to do something with it at that moment, of course, don't go with an indoctrinated belief. Go with your intuitive side. If you're supposed to give it away, don't get coerced by indoctrination or by a voice whispering in your ear telepathically to do it. Because there are beings out there that will try to tell you, hey, you're not supposed to keep all this money. You're not supposed to do it. That's selfish. No. Give yourself permission to be selfish, but for the right reasons. Selfish can be viewed a couple different ways, as bad or as good. Bad, everybody knows that, oh, you're being selfish, self-centered, or selfish as in you're taking care of yourself. So, I just wanted to add that because that's something profound that happened recently, a good thing. So, I wanted to make sure this was told. And if this person is listening to this, just know you were intricately part of correcting things energetically, along with myself. But at the same time, you also didn't understand that wasn't me. They just made themselves look like me so that they could get that silver out of you and send it my way as a form of energetic exchange. And to get me away from yourself. That is, if you're hearing this. Whether you believe it or not is irrelevant. This is what took place. If you even hear this at all. That is, even if you're connecting to this channel at all. So, that was a message for that specific person. And that is the last one that he will ever get. So, that said, I believe I covered it. So thank you, everybody. I know there's a lot of these videos at the ends of these shows, but they are for a reason. When I come up with something I've forgotten, and I've explained this before in Q&As and in on other shows, the things come up that needed to be added. This is one of them. Also, there are those skull devices, those Lux skulls I told you about. Also had money coding placed in them, and also religious iconography that it was canceling out within those as well. So this also helped with abundance because it was starting to cancel out the negative coding in money. So this also aided in that manifestation. So with that said, I will call it here. It is 5:33 p.m. Saturday, October 9th, 2021. Thank you.